Over 25 million women and children are trafficked annually. Online platforms make it easier than ever to exploit minors. Ordering a minor is as easy as ordering takeout online. Every swipe, every click, every transaction fuels a $150 billion industry of modern-day slavery. Trafficking isn't hidden. It's in plain sight.
See that window that's open?
Mm-hmm.
There's spotters in there, so. Normally the girls are on the top floor, your handlers are on the bottom floor. And they're not gonna like us being here, so you can just get ready for that. Well, you have 1, 2, 3. 3 rooms for sure where you have spotters. And you have one in the parking lot for sure. Oh, yeah, there you go. $120 every 15 minutes. They're making a lot of money.
Welcome in, everyone. I can get my co-host up and our special guest for tonight, Brandy from Shepherd's Watch. She sent me, told me about those videos to download and share with you guys. Let's welcome in Brandy right now from Shepherd's Watch.
Hey guys, how are y'all tonight?
Doing good.
Doing well.
Good.
Sorry about earlier. We started this earlier and we were getting the echo, and now we got it fixed. I had to start a new studio, so we had to end the other one. I'll have to get that deleted later. But go ahead, Brandy. Tell us about Shepherd's Watch and how it affects the trucking industry, how drivers can get involved.
Oh my goodness. Well, first of all, thank you to all of you for allowing us to come in and share with you. We have known Chris for quite a while now, and just want to thank y'all for being open to speaking with us and listening to what we have to share. First, I want to say, that trucking is definitely what we have always said is actually the first line of defense when it comes to the roads. And you see the trafficking that occurs. There's a lot of things that occur with trucks and without, right? And as you roll along the highways every day, you actually see more than the average people do, or even cops typically do. Y'all are traveling thousands of miles every week, some of you. And so you see a lot more faces, a lot more situations than your average person does. So I want to point that out first to say you have a large, I think a really larger role than you realize until you actually speak with someone who is doing this work, right? First of all, thank you, Justice for Truckers, for having us. So Shepherd's Watch is a 501c3 out of Texas, and we assist all levels of law enforcement with the data intelligence side of sex trafficking cases. So what we will do is they will call us or we will call them. It goes both ways. Whenever there are situations that we need to dive into further. Typically, what that looks like is we will receive a lead. And let's just say this is something that maybe we get this from someone in the public. Let's just say a trucker calls us because they know who to call and they say, hey, I have a situation that did not require immediate law enforcement, but I want to run this by you and see what you think. And if it's something that we do deem is definitely something that needs to be looked at, we will look at that closer. We will take all of the intel that we are given, go and gather further intelligence using that information, also do surveillance on situations. And then we will do what we need. And depending on the area, we'll do what we need to do with that investigation. Sometimes it takes weeks, sometimes months. I will say that with our intelligence that we have in-house now and the toolkits we have, things that were taking months do definitely take weeks now. It's been cut down about 70% of the turnaround time. So we're very efficient in what we do. We do not work with all law enforcement agencies. We work with certain agents within law enforcement agencies. So we typically, and I know Chris is used to this, but typically we like to make sure that you're aware that we have been around for 6 years, but you will not find us around on any platforms or really getting our name out there until about 2022. And that is because the first 2 years after we were formed, we were actually vetting law enforcement and different agencies and organizations that we can collaborate with. It's very important. And I know, a lot of your audience probably knows this already, but it's very important to know that everyone in this industry must be vetted. So you can't just go in and entrust someone with the information that you're passing on. You have to vet them. A lot of times, unfortunately, there are situations where people are bought off or leveraged. So we always make sure that we are working with law enforcement that has been thoroughly vetted. And those are the only ones that we work with. We do not just call in a situation just to any law enforcement. Now, with that being said, but it's also very important for you to understand we don't sit on anything we're given either. It does get passed on. Now, typically, our cases, again, are sex trafficking. But here in the last year, and I know that when we first met Chris, he didn't hear about any of this either. So this is something new for us. Within the last year, Shepherd's Watch has been receiving calls about missing children's cases. And the reason they're doing this is because they know our capabilities. And these are situations that are not just the typical missing child. This is a missing child with special needs, someone that is on the autistic spectrum. More or less people that are labeled neurodivergent. And we get these calls because of our capabilities. And we know that time is limited, number one, right? When you have someone missing, the last thing you want to do is wait 24, 48 hours. They ran away, they'll come back. That's the first thing we tell you not to do. But the reason, I want to get back to your question real quick too. The reason it's important, we feel that it's important that we educate truckers because, again, you're the number one defense out there on the roads. When we first started talking to truckers, we made a graphic, and it does need to be updated, so I didn't send it to Chris. It is the old graphic, Chris, that we made for truckers. We were asked to make a graphic that they could pass around, okay? And typically, we thought of, okay, what are you mostly going to see as a trucker? Well, you're going to need to know what to do if you see anything on the road. And what are the typical places that you actually hang out at, getting your gas, getting your food for the road? This is usually your truck stops, right? So we made a graphic so that truckers would understand what they're looking for that is suspicious activity. But we learned real quick especially even with the border closed, guys, and ladies, I know we have trucker ladies as well. It's very important for you to understand that border being closed did slow down the trafficking, but it definitely did not stop it, right? Most of you understand in this industry that's been going on forever, and it probably will forever as far as we're on the earth. But it did bottleneck it whenever it was closed again. So we do see less coming through the border, but we absolutely see more trafficking when it comes to the numbers we're seeing. Our cases are just going up. They're not going down. So everyone that is within the country now, right, is still seeing all the trafficking that is occurring for for the millions that have flooded our borders. But where we need where we need truckers help is knowing what to do when you see something. Because a lot of times you may not even know where you're at. What city do I call? Am I in between? Am I in the county? So what we would like to tell truckers is, yes, of course, if you know what city you're in, call the city PD. But 9 times out of 10, you're probably not going to know where you are. Of course, 911 is going to get you to the jurisdiction that you're in. But we always like to say, go ahead and call state law enforcement. Why? Because if you are anywhere within state boundaries, that law enforcement can follow a vehicle or someone walking down the road, whatever you see, whatever you call in. Law enforcement can typically follow them. If you call state law enforcement, they can follow all the way to the state line. So it's very important for you to understand that. So we always say, yes, absolutely call local. But a lot of times you're just going to get transferred to the county or state. And that's actually who we would prefer you talking to as state, because their boundaries are that state line. I'm going to take a break real quick, Chris, if you can think of anything I may not have covered yet, because I know we got a lot.
Yeah, there is. So one thing I know is the rest areas that we even stop at are a high area for traffickers as well, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, those are going to be your places typically that if they're actually moving any victims, that would be more typically where you would see a victim might be within a vehicle versus a truck stop, right? Because you're going to have less eyes at those rest areas. Yes,
Right. And they like to stay away from the crowds a lot of
absolutely.
the times.
Yes.
Um,
And go ahead.
go ahead.
Well, I was
No,
just
you're
going to
fine.
tell you real quick about a story, and I don't know if you remember this. I think we were still hanging out on X together whenever this happened, but I can remember that there was a guy and his wife. It wasn't a trucker; he was in a regular pickup truck, and he had stopped to go to the. Him and his wife had stopped to go to the restroom, and they typically like to stop at rest areas, not your big truck stops. And they stopped at a rest area, and they saw a regular truck that had a bed on the back of it with some dog cages underneath a tarp. And they
Mm.
were sitting in the vehicle, and they noticed that one of the occupants got out, uncovered the dog cages, and did get one child out of this dog cage. And had they not stopped at that rest area, they may not have been there to get help for that child, and they were able to call, and there was a rescue that was made that day, and 2 people absolutely did go to jail for that. But it just goes to I share all that to say, if you have time to stop at a rest area, and those are typically where you stop, definitely go to them. Don't go to the big truck stops if that's not your preference. Go to those rest areas. Always be vigilant and have your head on a swivel, but 9 times out of 10, you might actually see something more that you can respond to by calling law enforcement if needed at a rest area. Yes.
Yeah, and I would recommend always calling the state highway patrol or every state's different. Some have highway patrols, some are DPS. Um what's the other one?
Um,
Ignacio, you remember the other name?
The only thing I can think about is
all
probably
I know
some
is Texas
DOT.
Department of Public Safety for Texas.
Yeah,
Those are our state
DOT.
troopers.
Yeah,
Right.
troopers. I know Arizona uses some of the DOT departments as well to enforce.
Oh, we don't hear you, Ignacio.
Like for me, Arizona uses a lot of their DOT departments as well to enforce traffic or compliance as well.
If he's talking to me, Chris, I can't hear him.
Yeah, I can hear him.
Okay,
I
I'm
don't
not
know why
hearing.
you can.
I hear you, but I don't hear him.
Try to drop him. Here, I'm going to drop you out and bring you back in. See if that works.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ignacio. See if she can hear you.
Testing.
No.
Really? Yeah, you might have to drop on your end and come back in.
Me or him?
You.
Okay.
I don't know why we're having so many technical difficulties tonight. We haven't had this many before.
Yeah, this week's been a little weird throughout social medias or platforms.
Well, that's the thing. This isn't even social media. It's just the internet. I think
Right.
it's the
That
internet.
it is.
We stream over to the social media, but this doesn't run off of the social media. It runs off the straight off the internet onto the social medias. Oh, hopefully she comes back in.
Yeah, because that the voices were coming in pretty clear. Unfortunately, she couldn't hear me.
Yeah. Yeah, she was able to hear you at first, like when we first started back up.
Yeah.
There she is.
All
All
right.
right.
Let's try this again.
Testing.
All right. Yes, I hear him. Whew.
Oh, great. Go ahead. It's
What
going
a roller
somewhere
coaster.
now.
So, what were you saying about Arizona,
Oh,
Ignacio?
probably. I just wanted to add some of the DOT departments where actually drive around and enforce over in Arizona. So they have a lot of departments uh, on the road uh, enforcing and kind of watching throughout the border. So I do drive the 10 corridor. So it is pretty hot over through the 10 corridor. You have a lot of agencies working the small little cities throughout the state, especially at the border. So I can honestly say every time that I go into Tucson, I might see 5 to 10 even trucks being pulled over. So it's pretty hot over there. That's what we call it, right? As truckers. So there's
Right.
different agencies. A lot of them are involved right now. So it's a good thing. I mean, for the topic on hand, right? So thank you, Brandy, for bringing awareness. Uh, I know not to get off topic, Brandy, what is your passion behind it? If you don't mind, you don't have to answer that, but I'm very curious. Why are you involved? What's your passion behind it? If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer it if you don't want
Absolutely.
to.
So, the reason I even got involved with Shepherd's Watch was I saw a friend of mine who actually went to the Sassabee, Arizona border, and he was offering food, prayer, a lot of different things for the children that were coming through. And again, that was Sassabee, Arizona. And when I saw that, I wanted to get involved. And so I reached out to him, and he set me up with a meeting Shepherd's Watch. They were not involved with him doing that. He just knew of them. Wanted to get on a big level, on a legal level, not just as an individual, but with an organization. So he put me in touch with Shepherd's Watch, and the rest is history. Here I am 6 years later. So that's how I got involved. I knew that I wanted to do something about it. I knew that I couldn't do it alone, but I wanted to be a part of a group that was making an impact, right? Because there's so many, we've seen so many different awareness groups, but I truly wanted to be a part of a group that was making a true impact. And so I was put in touch with Shepherd's Watch, and that's how I found them.
Well, thank you so much. And your organization, for caring, for having empathy and compassion that it's rarely seen nowadays. So we thank you for your service, for caring, for serving the community. That it's very refreshing to hear, and it's very hopeful to know that still people care out there, people like yourself and like your friend. So we thank you for that.
Absolutely. And we just want to thank you for your support. You know, this is God's work. We didn't go looking for this. When He sets this in front of you and you see what's happening, you have to do something. So that is our passion, is just to show up where we're needed, right? And all children and all people are God's children. Doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter what, what ethnicity you are. Doesn't matter what race you are. God's children are all of God's children. And when you see a crisis happening in front of you, there's a small handful of us that want to run towards it. And we are humbled to be those that run towards it. And we just want to thank all of you for your support, because it does take everyone involved to make this happen.
Wow, that gave me the chills. Praise and glory be to God that He still has soldiers down here in this what seems like hell sometimes. You know, when we talk about this topic, it's a very sensitive topic. It is an underrated topic. It hits home. I grew up in the ghetto, South Central LA, and these events are very painful. I myself have been serving the Lord for 23 years with the homeless, with less fortunate, because I was less fortunate. My mother was a single mother of 10, and we did struggle. And I, one thing that I did witness throughout my experience growing up is that uh, a lot of these organizations they use drugs, alcohol, and even love, right, to lure young teenagers, especially uh, girls, right? And I experienced this even just helping a few families with runaway kids. And a lot of times it is mature people trying to pretend they're young people through social media and even video games. That's what I learned. And sometimes they find a way to get to teenagers, they investigate them, they lure them. And there's some cases that we even learned of even parents finding out their plans, right? The teenager plans. They learn that they've been talking to an adult. They learn through the process that there's a plan for an adult to kidnap them, to use them for human trafficking, right? So it is a very painful event. I did work with maybe like 4 families dealing with this, and the tragedy behind it, the pain, the hardship just in the process. It is very painful. So I've seen this. The other thing that I do want to mention, sadly, a lot of this has to do with truckers as well. I read some articles about even truck drivers being involved in trafficking. I read about truck drivers having a human inside a cab, maybe chained, maybe oppressed. And unfortunately, it does happen even in trucking. So I just want to mention that, as well as unfortunately, and we need to be real and talk about it. I did surveillance maybe for 3 years uh, with a private firm, actually investigating sometimes people working for the county, the state, and federal. And you'll be surprised who's involved in this. And you're absolutely right. You have to vet people, because sometimes the ones that you don't think they might be involved, right? We hear this in the news all the time. Oh, it was my neighbor. I never thought it could be happening. Never seen anything different. Look like a normal, productive citizen. So it is very important for individuals like yourself to come and educate us on how this really works, because uh, we don't really understand the issue, the topic on hand, until we're going through it, right? Through a friend, through a neighbor, just like you did. You got involved just by your empathy, your compassion, for your love for the community, and you learn and you plugged in, and your passion is tremendous. So I just want to talk about those two things. Always be vigilant. Always have your eyes open. Always be aware of what's going on, because when you mention 25 million, and when you mention 150 billion dollars in the industry, those are scary numbers. And the scariest one, even up to date, is you say that it's growing. That should be concerning for all of us, especially for us that are parents. I raised 4 girls, so we should be very vigilant, and we should also work along anybody that has care, love, empathy, and compassion, like your organization. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, so very much for sharing that. It's very important for people to understand, again, like you said, first of all, it's happening everywhere. Something I wanted to bring up that I've thought about when you were speaking is the fact that, it doesn't matter which side of the tracks you grew up on. Does not see any kind of financial situations. It's involved with everyone. We have traffickers who are paying cash for $1 million homes in gated communities. It's very organized, as you mentioned, and it is everywhere. So, a lot of people will think, well, I don't live in that area. I'm sure it's not happening where I live. I pay such and such every month. Well, it is something that people don't want to acknowledge, but it is very real. It is happening in every community, and it is something that we have to bring attention to, no doubt.
Absolutely. Now, I have a quick question, Brandy, for you. Uh, I am Mexican American. I do cross once in a while into Mexico. One of the biggest things that I've learned that actually surprised me was that actually works both ways, because when I've gone across the border into Mexico, we're even seeing Americans on the other side of the border, uh, possibly dealing with human trafficking. So that was a little maybe surprising to me. So what do you know, or what do you believe as far as human trafficking going across the border, dealing with maybe Americans working in Mexico under the sex trafficking?
Well, I definitely can say that, Shepherd's Watch does not recommend any Americans going over into Mexico at this time. It's very real. Kidnappings are very real. Sex trafficking and trafficking in general is very real. You hear all the time where people are kidnapped. And, sometimes their families get them back, sometimes they don't. So that is just something, as far as we're concerned, we are not border experts. We actually have more experience within Texas, within the borders of the state. We leave the border to the border experts, and those are definitely something we are not. The Jason Jones, the Lara Logans, we leave that to them. That's definitely not our arena. But I will say that we do hear oftentimes we will get that intel that certain groups of people are coming up, and it will absolutely pan out. They will be sighted, they will be spotted. We will get the intelligence. We will see them before too long within our interiors. So it's definitely something that's still going on. A lot of people unfortunately feel like they don't realize that the border is still going to have trafficking. That's going to be something forever, right? Most of us on here know that. But your average lay person who is not a trucker, or who is not someone who works in this, or they don't live by the border, they don't understand that. They think that the border is shut down, no one's coming through it, and there's no trafficking. And that is not the case. Again, it has slowed down, absolutely. But it's still going on. It is something, and when it comes to going to Mexico, it's just something we don't encourage at this time. When you go over that border, you have a lot of less chances for our guys coming for you. And that's just that's the truth.
Absolutely. Now, another thing, like I mentioned, I do drive through the 10 corridor. One thing that I'm aware of and been doing it for years is I check my truck before I start coming closer into the state, right from the borderline. Why? Because not necessarily focusing or being watchful on sex trafficking, but also through human smuggling, right? I've known of drivers that had some humans on top of their truck, under their truck, inside their trailer. So I have a habit of checking my truck before I come in closer inbound the state when I'm very close to the border, right? Because it's been known that sometimes they will jump in your truck. They will get on top and under your truck just to come across the border. Uh, what do you know about that, and what can you share for us truck drivers to be aware of as far as just human trafficking as a whole, related to us coming across or even from the border into the cities here in, for example, Arizona, New Mexico, California? What do you have to share for us to be vigilant on?
Well, first, I want to say we need to make sure that everyone is treating all states as border states, right? We've had millions of people come over our borders. Lots of them did not come through border security, border patrol checkpoints. So those people are here and we don't even know who they are. So it's very important for everybody to treat every state as a border state. So whether you drive in those quote unquote border states, as you mentioned, or if you drive in other states, you're still going to want to look for the same thing when it comes to a truck. Again, we're not border experts, but I will say what you just said is very important. Looking under your truck, looking within your vehicle and making sure that someone hasn't snuck in as you were getting your gas, right? I'm sure a lot of you practice this, but it's just like anybody else. Locking your vehicle when you're not around it. If you can't see the other side and you're outside filling it up with gas on the one side and the other side, the door's open, you've left it open for someone else to sneak into it. And that's very important, especially as truck drivers, right? You have your wallet in there. For all you know, it might actually be someone that is escaping a trafficker. Someone may have gotten away from a trafficker at a truck stop, and they're trying to sneak into your vehicle so that they can get away. It's very important that you 1000% secure your rig, first of all. But second, if at all possible as truck drivers, and I know that it differs a lot of places, but I do know from talking with Chris and other truckers in the past, I know that a lot of times, depending on what you do, some of you pick up trucks or pick up containers that are already sealed. If at all possible, and you're picking up something that doesn't have to be sealed until you arrive, see if it can be open and it's open until you arrive. I would highly suggest being able to view your cargo before it's sealed up, if at all possible, right? But definitely know who to call. Definitely know that even if you see something that doesn't require immediate law enforcement response, that you actually still do have somewhere to report. The United States has over 80 fusion centers. What is a fusion center? So all of the data that comes from suspicious activity reports go to fusion centers. And as a layperson or anyone, you can make a suspicious activities report. And that's going to go to the nearest, whenever you call their eights, I believe it's an 888 number. I'll get it for you here in a minute. But when you call their number, it's going to dispatch you to the nearest fusion center in the United States. And is where you're going to report suspicious activity. That is anything that you deem suspicious, but you do not believe it requires immediate police response. That is, something's not right. Let me give you an example. I actually was in downtown the day after 9/11, downtown Houston, and I'm driving through downtown Houston streets, and I see a white car with no license plate on the front or the back. Number one, in Texas, you have to have a license plate on front and back. So that caught me off guard. Number two, it had no license plate at all. And this is the day after 9/11. And it's sitting on the street in front of the county jail, downtown Houston, turned the opposite direction than it's supposed to be, sitting on the curb. Well, immediately, what did I do? I picked up the phone and dialed 911 because it was right after 9/11. But what if it wasn't right after 9/11? I would have still taken a picture of that vehicle and I would have sent it in for a suspicious activities report. Because number one, it was sitting outside of the county jail and it was in an area that, first of all, it did say no parking. Second, it was parked the wrong way on the street. Third, it had no license plate, and I could go on and on. So all of these things added up to this is suspicious. And those are the types of things we still want you to report. Why would we want you to still report that? Because over time, if law enforcement or investigators that work the fusion center start seeing the same vehicle, start seeing maybe the same license plate, maybe it's the same person that is reported over, maybe it's even the same area, they can see patterns and they can move on things that maybe wasn't suspicious enough with one person reporting it, but 3 or 4 different people reporting the same thing or the same person or the same car. That's definitely going to cause an act of them wanting to investigate further. And sometimes those honestly can create the uncoverings of something that you don't even know what you're looking at sometimes, but it could be something really big in the end. So that's really what we want people to focus on, is no matter where you are, still look for the same things. And Ignacio, you said something earlier I want to go back to, and that was using the internet to get to our kids. So recently I was asked to be on the Going Rogue with Lara Logan podcast. And so I went on and joined her, and we spoke with a mother who does have her daughter back now. But this is a mother who her daughter had been trafficked 3 different times. Now, they do believe that the people behind it were connected because there were some links found. But typically, to a lay person, this would have looked like 3 different networks within a week or so of when she went missing. It's very important for people to understand that even if your child and your young adult is using a device within your eyesight, within your earshot, that still does not mean they are safe. And the reason I say that is because we recently, going back to the missing kid cases we've been receiving. So again, these have been missing kids that are neurodivergent. And going to Leslie's story, who goes by Jill on that podcast with me. Leslie's story starts with her daughter being neurodivergent, and no one is a stranger to her daughter. Now, she is a young adult in her mid-20s now, but back then she was 18 and she did not know a stranger. Everyone was her friend. And so mom knew that she didn't feel right about what was going on with different friends. But, you know, when your child turns 18, even if they're neurodivergent, there's only so many things you can do. So a lot of your parents, and this is why it's so very important for us to talk about this tonight, and here in the last few episodes of interviews we've done, we wanted to bring this to everyone's attention because people aren't realizing the true target that these kids and these young adults are for traffickers and for groomers. Again, they don't see strangers. And before you know it, your child has, or your young adult has met someone that might be a danger to them. And when you call law enforcement and your child is gone and doesn't come home the next morning, a lot of times when they are 18, they are going to tell you they are 18 years of age. They can do what they want. Call us if you don't hear from them in a couple days. Well, that first 24 to 72 hours is the absolute most crucial time in a missing persons case. That can truly make or break a case. And especially if you're dealing with law enforcement, who we absolutely are law enforcement's biggest fans. They are our heroes. They're the ones that go out and make our work happen, right? They're the ones that go out and make those arrests with our data intelligence. But they also sometimes don't know what they're looking at. And so that's one of our biggest initiatives right now, is to get the public educated that the neurodivergent are definitely in the lines of target right now. They are meeting these children and these young adults online. They're becoming their friends within a few days, if not the same day. And over weeks, before you know it, your child or your young adult thinks this is their best friend. And a lot of the time, they're being groomed and they don't even realize it. And that's very important for especially the parents of neurodivergent children to understand. A young adult who is neurodivergent, again, her daughter, Leslie shared that her daughter now is in her mid-20s. But when this occurred, she was 18 and 19 with a 13 to 14-year-old mentality. She didn't know that she was walking into the hands of someone that was a threat to her. So it's very important. And then, we do have Leslie, who her daughter is safe now. But then we also have a mother who we recently interviewed on one of our spaces that we have, because we do educate online twice a week on X. We had a mother on there by the name of Mary Wells, and her daughter, Julia Wells, actually did not make it out of the hands of her traffickers. She was trafficked, and within 24 hours of leaving home, let me back up. Julia went to her mom and let her mom know that she was going out with some friends that night. The mom had already given Julia some warnings that she did not trust this quote unquote friend. Mom had heard a few things or had encountered the friend before and did not get good vibes. Julia was 18 or 19 when this occurred. Within 24 hours, Julia did live with her boyfriend. She was not living in mom's home. But before 24 hours was up, when Julia told her mom she was going out with friends, because she was going with her friend because she had a job at a restaurant that she wanted Julia to try out with her. Well, that new job was not a restaurant. That new job was a strip club. And before 24 hours was up from the time that Julia sent a message saying, I'm going with my friend to a new job, she had law enforcement knocking on her door telling her that her daughter was dead. Her daughter had been pushed out of a moving vehicle on a Dallas tollway at 85 miles an hour. But they did, in fact, know that the vehicle, because it was reported, people did see it and witness it, even though it was in the middle of the night. Thank God. There were witnesses. It was turned in immediately. The license plate was given of the vehicle she came out of, and law enforcement was able to tell her that it was the vehicle of a known trafficker. That trafficker, this is the most disgusting part. That trafficker had already been prosecuted, arrested. It was either 2 or 3 times for pushing someone out of a moving vehicle. But they didn't die, so the guy wasn't charged. But it was on record that he had already pushed 2 or 3 different people out of moving vehicles. So, that's one of the biggest things we see in Texas right now too, guys, is the fact that we have traffickers that are given 5 years for trafficking, true story, for trafficking 13, 14-year-olds. They're given 5 years. They do day for day. They walk out after 5 years, and now they're trafficking again. This is something that does not to be taken lightly. If you are found to be trafficking anyone, you should be given the maximum sentence for trafficking. If you are caught trafficking a neurodivergent person, an indigenous person, or anyone who has a disability, we want you to be found guilty of trafficking a minor. We want the worst of the worst sentences to be given to you. It is not the time to be lenient on these sentences. And right now, it is taking an act of Congress to get, literally an act of Congress to get a trafficking charge to stick. Right now, they want to go after the promoting prostitution, the aggravated promotion of prostitution. Yes, those are still sentences, but it doesn't give them the trafficking sentences that are in place. It has to be a trafficking charge to get those sentences. So we need to really stiffen up. We need to stiffen up on the cases, on how they're tried, on what they're given, what their sentences are. I mean, all the way around, we just really need the education out there, because the parents and the kids themselves are absolutely the number one line of defense for those kids right now and those young adults.
Yeah, I
Great
totally
information.
agree. I totally agree. And to kind of backtrack back to the containers, another thing that you can do is actually pound on the side when they're already sealed and stuff. That's one recommendation. Um, but the laws do need to get stricter on the whole sex trafficking side. I mean, to me it seems like they should begin tried just like a sexual conduct with a minor.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah.
Well, and something else that was brought to my attention, Chris, and it just hit me again, that there is a gun that you can actually buy, a heat gun that truckers can actually buy. I don't know if you have ever heard of this before. I would assume you have, but there's actually a gun that you can buy that actually will detect heat within the cargo. Have you ever
Oh
heard of one
yeah,
of
the
those?
thermal guns. Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually was sent a link to those one time whenever we were doing spaces together. And I was sent that and told actually truckers could buy one of those, and that would help them individually be able to check all of your loads, regardless of anything that the truck is capable or not capable of doing, right? You could check that
That and
yourself.
that's only I think that's only if there's like a vent door that's not
Gotcha.
sealed.
Okay.
Um, because I don't think it actually goes through the trailer. I haven't heard of one actually going through like the wall of the trailer.
Gotcha. Well, that would be amazing if somebody would invent one, wouldn't it? They could become rich at this point. Because
Right?
that would be amazing. That would
Well,
be exactly what y'all could use.
another thing, these manufacturers could start putting vent doors on all of the trailers because most of the time it's only on dry vans or reefers with the vent doors.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It, are these
And tankers too. But
temperature guns? Are they the ones that we use for the reefer equipment,
yeah,
where we can actually have a laser to determine the temperature on the product through the little window? Is that more or less the gun that we're talking about here?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The
Yeah.
temperature guns.
Yeah. Yeah. I used one of those when I pulled reefer for 14 years. So yes, that is important. Now, Brandy, since we have you here, I know, like I mentioned before, I actually had three nieces that were involved. By the grace of God, we were able to uh, go and try to investigate ourselves and do our due diligence, and thank God, like they're all okay. But one of them was being lured and actually jumping out the window in the middle of the night to meet with a 30-some-year-old, and she was only 14 at the time, and she wouldn't tell her parents anything. And thank God, like God opened up the doors for her to actually confess to me on what was really going on. She was being lured through social media and therefore had friends. The other one was, like you mentioned, unfortunately, from the young girl, lured through a friend and then this secret workplace. The other girl, my other niece, was unfortunately lured that way through another friend, introduced to other friends, and they have their own secret life. One of the other nieces got, she had actually a list of 10 friends through a video game. Through a video game. So I know for a fact even through video games, they're actually preying on young kids, because I discovered that as well. This young girl, she wouldn't tell her parents. Again, thank God she was able to tell me. We were able to work and literally intervene before it got worse. Now, my question is, because you seems like you know what you're talking about, you have a lot of experience here. What can we do as parents, as a community, to prevent some of these things even to develop into a tragic event? How can we be vigilant as parents to help our kids or to supervise our kids before something like this happen? What can you tell us about this?
Couple different things that are very important. First of all, going back real quick to the devices, we recommend, if you do not, as a parent, if you do not know how to work a device, a smart device, don't give it to your child. You need to be able, first of all, to know exactly how to work that device. Need to know how to put your parental settings on it. If this is a child that you're just starting out with, a young child, we absolutely recommend Bark. That's BARK, just like a dog. Bark has devices that are set up with parental controls already on it. This is also a website that you can download their programs, but they also have devices themselves that are already set up. So they have a Bark phone, they have a watch, they also have a router for your home. They have a couple different devices that are already put together that you can purchase through them and use their service, or you can download their service on devices that you already have. That's going to be one way. What that's also going to do as well, guys, just so you're aware of how it works, you're going to be able to set it up for different parameters. So you'll be able to set up different words that you want it to alert you if they're said. There's also, if there's certain pictures, so forth. You can set up all kinds of parameters. Second thing would be this. So we do know as well that a lot of trafficking situations also occur within schools, and that is all schools, honestly. So we want to make sure that as a parent, for a child that is going to school, especially outside the home, or maybe your child is a homeschooling child, but they go outside the home for their social activities, or maybe they're involved in co-ops as homeschooling kids. The first thing we want you to know as well is, if your child ever goes from being very open with you, very bubbly, very, just open with you about everything, and all of a sudden starts being closed off, starts being very secretive, that's a red flag. One of the other red flags is if your child ends up with some type of gift that maybe it does or doesn't cost a lot of money, and you didn't give this to your child. Where did that device come from? I can share with you, as the vice president of an organization that sees this a lot, guys. Devices show up a lot of times in homes that parents or guardians did not buy for that child or that young adult. Where did that come from? Because you and I both know that we don't even want to go pay $1,200 for that new iPhone, much less anyone else buying it and giving it to a child, right? A child is not going to buy another child a device. A lot of times this will also happen as well. In this situation, a lot of times the child will even tell their parent or their guardian, well, a friend gave it to me. Well, again, 9 times out of 10, A device the way they are nowadays just doesn't appear. Someone paid a lot of money for it, and not everyone just gives away devices. So I can share without a doubt that the last 4 cases we have had, maybe 5, if I think about it hard enough, but at least 4 of the last missing kid cases that we were called upon were because of grooming out of the home, starting with a device. Now, what also has been found is those extra devices. So, a device that is given to the child by the parent or by the guardian will be left behind and it'll be wiped clean. But a new device that came into the home that the parent did see is now gone. Well, that's because they're using that new device to get to that person if they're either going on the bus, right? Or maybe that person's using that device to communicate with them along their way to get to the other person. Sometimes they pick them up at your house. I can tell you that in the last couple ones as well, there has been a list of what to do and what not to do given to the child prior to leaving the home. So they're telling them sharing how to wipe the device. They're sharing with them how to make sure that they're looking for any kind of cameras outside or inside the home so they're not detected. Reminding them not to be seen by any Ring cameras. Check out your neighbor's cameras. Make sure they don't have any cameras outside. I mean, they are getting very, very, for lack of a better word, ballsy. These traffickers and these groomers are definitely not holding back at this point. They're making sure they teach these kids how to get out of their parents and out of their parents' home, and they'll even set up Ubers, right? They will tell these children weeks in advance, here's the day we're gonna send an Uber for you. Here's a day that you're gonna start watching your parents movements. Let's start telling us how they move. When do they leave? Are there patterns that do they go to church? Do they have a certain group that they meet on certain days every single week? They will try to get the child or the young adult out of the home when the parents are away. What else is there to look for? Oh my goodness, so much, guys. Again, devices that. Well, here's another one. Making sure that you can see and hear all the devices. So what do I mean by that? A lot of times nowadays you have those virtual reality sets. So I do know that there's been a handful of kids that will tell, because I've heard about it, they will tell their parents that the parent can't see what is going on within that game because it's in the virtual reality headset that's on their face. Well, that's actually not true. There is a function within the virtual reality headset that you can cast what they are seeing on a screen within your home. So we always like to say, sorry, kids, we're going to run your secret. But parents and guardians, there is a function inside that headset that you can actually mirror whatever they're seeing on a screen. And that's very important. One of the kids that was groomed out of the home at 17, he had never driven a car before, took the family car, was almost nonverbal, did not know how to talk to anyone but his parents. And they groomed him using a laptop that he was sitting in the living room with his dad, who actually had his home office in the same living room where his son would sit with that laptop. And dad thought and mom thought he was safe, right? He was homeschooled. He never went anywhere without mom and dad. And the device was in the same living room that dad sat every single day with him. So they thought he was safe until they woke up and he was gone. And the family car was gone. And it took somewhere, I don't want to misquote the actual days, somewhere between a week to 2 weeks. We had a couple kids in the same time frame, but it was a week or 2 weeks that he was gone. We were not able to track a device because he left the only device that he had at the house, and it was wiped. Luckily, he did take the car, so there actually was a license plate that could be tracked and looked at, and the car was found. It was found outside of a wooded area that was a part of a national park. But it did take a couple days for them to find him. And when he walked out of the national park, they said he literally had a matter of a few hours before he was going to die because it seemed as though he had not drinking or eaten anything since he left home. He had no food and water. He had nothing but that car with him and the clothes on his back. And we're talking about kids and young adults, right, that don't realize the threat they're going towards. Another one that occurred at the same time, I feel the need to share this, so I'm going to. One of the other ones that occurred around the same time frame was a girl who had been groomed out of the home using a device again for leaving. She was groomed by a group called Rainbow Railroad. Rainbow Railroad is a very well-known group that takes children underground and transitions them without parental consent. So there's many Facebook groups like it, and I'm saying this out loud because it's very important that parents know it. You know, it used to be we didn't want to put a name out there because we didn't want to bring it to the attention of the weirdos and the predators. But now we just need the parents to know. So we're just sharing everything we can that doesn't inhibit something with an investigation. But Rainbow Railroad is a very big group. They're all over the United States. And this girl, actually, I believe she either found them. I don't remember if she found them using her Xbox is where I want to say she found them in a gaming chat on Xbox. But they'll usually also go to Discord. So what happened with that situation is she actually left home with nothing but the clothes on her back and her teddy bear. This girl was asthmatic, guys. And she left without her inhaler. And this is who they're grooming. They're grooming the people that don't understand what's really going on. And they're walking away from their homes with their lifelines, literally. That asthmatic girl, they don't know how she survived as long as she did without her inhaler. That was God. That was all God that made her survive that. And they did find her as well. Actually, I can't get too in detail with this one as to not put targets on us, but law enforcement was within hours of standing on that front yard of where she was with mom and dad and the bikers who were ready to not leave until they let her go, because they did not want to let her go. And again, when your child is 17, 18, 19, law enforcement can only do so much. So I say all of that to say, if you have a child that is neurodivergent or a young adult that is neurodivergent, you need to do whatever you can legally to get protection against them now, preferably before they become an adult. Because once they are an adult or they're 17 and they're not an adult yet, but they might be in a state like Texas where they're deemed an adult when it comes to consent to sex. So once that occurs, then it's hard for us to actually go and help them, because if they've already know that everyone is a friend and they don't know that they're being sex trafficked, they don't know to say that they are being sex trafficked. A lot of them are scared to do it to begin with, even if they do know. But it's a lot of times harder for us to get them back safely because they're an adult now. So please get the guardianship paperwork that you can, any kind of paperwork you can in place prior to them becoming consent of age for sex or legally an adult. That's our big takeaway for all of that tonight, for sure.
Just another question, because as parents, or me as a father, I would have never thought that young males, teenagers or boys to be specific, that they're not a target. But you just mentioned a case of a young man being groomed or lured. What is the percentage, or how high is the risk of a young male being in danger or being trafficked?
It's the same as a female. I will tell you that, yes, sir. When the border was open, I can tell you definitely upon our own looking at numbers and things that were coming and people that were coming through and situations that were occurring, Males, absolutely, honestly, unfortunately, I mean, it's unfortunate that anyone's trafficked, but little boys were bringing more money than the females while the border was open. Yes, sir. It is very important for people to know that this sees no gender. Actually, as well, when we looked at the cases within Texas a few years back, transitioned prepubescent transitioned children were actually also bringing more money, and the couples, yes, I said couples, heterosexual couples were the ones buying those heterosexual children the most. So it's everyone involved. It is everyone that we don't think are involved. Those are the ones that are the most. But absolutely, boys are absolutely a commodity, just like females are. This sees no gender. Traffickers and nor the kids that are trafficked by them care how you voted. They just want to make a dollar. And unfortunately, you know, we do see most of the time we see drugs involved in most of our cases. But I will say this: drugs can be used one time. A drug dealer has to replace that product, right? Well, those people, those females, those males, those men, those kids, everyone, they can be used up to 7 to 10 times a day. So this is something that is a billions and billions of dollars of industry, hundreds of billions of dollars of industry. I mean, well, let's say, for instance, the footage y'all shared in the very beginning, whenever the podcast first opened, that was our lead investigator, Lisa, taking the Daily Caller News Foundation journalist out on a ride along. That one hotel that you were looking at, that we know for a fact has at least 25 girls that are being used out of that hotel. We know most of those girls at that time when that footage was being taken, they were going for $120 for every 15 minutes. 25 girls, $120 every 15 minutes. You're looking at a $25 million ring right there. And that's just one location. So when I tell you that it's happening everywhere, under everyone's nose, if someone lived in the vicinity of that hotel, they would know exactly where that is. That is on a corridor of a major highway that a lot of you men and women who are truckers probably drive by once or twice, at least in your month, or maybe even a week, depending on where you drive.
Yeah, depending on the area.
Say it again, Chris.
Yeah, depending on the areas that drivers drive.
Yeah. So, you know, it's something that a lot, you used to say, oh, well, that's just, unfortunately, this is just the way it was, especially in Texas. We had a lot of migrants in our state and always have. And whether it was a migrant girl or a Caucasian girl, you would see someone that was selling themselves because that's the way you viewed it for years. And it was just the way they were making a living. Well, nowadays, that's not the way it is. You might see someone who is just choosing to do something to pay a bill. But 9 times out of 10, they're going to end up with a John that is going to beat them and control them and take their money. Or they're going to end up in a ring where worst of the worst is who they deal with. And 9 times out of 10, you're definitely looking at a sex trafficking situation. You're no longer looking at just a prostitution situation. It is a felony to buy sex in Texas, and it is a felony to sell sex in Texas. So we are hoping to be able to attack this from both sides eventually in all states. But right now, we definitely need all states to get with the program, and we need all buying of sex to become felonies. in every state. That's going to make it a lot easier for those of us in this fight to be able to help law enforcement and be able to move on these things faster, because the more lax laws we have, the worse the numbers get.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You got
Well,
anything else before we close out, Ignacio?
yeah, one of the things that I remember, uh, there used to be some stickers, right? I believe something along like truckers against trafficking, human trafficking, something like that, that I remember along the years. Uh, what do you have for us truck drivers to raise awareness other than just like right now, which is this is to me is an underrated I believe, issue on hand. I believe that it is affecting us more than what we think it is. Just like you said, I mean, it doesn't discriminate. Now it can be in the ghetto, it can be in the uh, luxurious the communities. It can be to a regular family. It can be to a single dad, single mom. This is an epidemic, to my opinion, and it's a serious one because most of us are parents. I know I have four daughters that are raised, and was faced with the challenge of always making decisions about whether I get them a phone or not, or I'll watch their phone, they watch their friends. It takes years of just supervising their journey as they grow up. But what other tools do you have besides us here? This is the to me, this is a very great interview. This is I'm passionate about this, and man, I thank God like there's angels like yourself in your organization because it is so much needed. I know there's just an overwhelming task, and it does take, like they say, right? Does take a village to watch over our kids, and I'm glad that you mentioned the even the young kids that have I don't know the word, but handicap uh, or challenges, right? uh, this is something that is alarming to me. So, do you have like something for us truck drivers besides the word, right? Like for us to continue to be aware. Do you have like stickers? You have websites? You have phone numbers that you can provide to us in other just for us to be a source of passing it on, or a source for us to continue raising awareness. Because to be honest with you, if we didn't talk about this, this would not be something that I'm thinking about, or might not be my priority. But now that I'm listening to you and being reminded, right, it creates a new level of awareness. So, what do you have as tools for us truck drivers to engage, to be part of the movement, to be part of the vision for common good?
Well, definitely, one thing you can always do is staying involved. So, as far as on our to stay in contact with Shepherd's Watch, okay? So, we have Facebook, we have X, we have TikTok, Instagram, Rumble, and YouTube. But all of those are on our website. And I want to give you all this website. It's Shepherd's Watch Foundation.org. Shepherds is spelled with two E's. So shepherdswatchfoundation.org. We have created a flyer for truckers. I will get it revamped. I promise. It's been 2 years old now. It still looks the same, but we will put some new info on there. Um, I know that we in the past have talked with Chris and other truckers about getting a QR code that we could make stickers to where when you scan that QR code, it would pull up a list of different things. We actually, and we're not able to tell you exactly what it is just yet, but here in the next few weeks, we're ready to go live with a new amazing system. You are going to be able to take some courses so that you can be caught up to date on what to look for and what to do. I can tell you as well that dhs.gov has, if you see something, say something, initiatives on there. Again, that is DHS, Department of Homeland Security.gov. They have, if you see something, say something area on there. You can take their online training now, and you can get more involved and start knowing how to look for things, what to look for, and when you find them, how to report them. That is actually going to be as well on how you, when I was talking about making the suspicious activities reports, they're going to teach you how to do those suspicious activity reports there. I will say and commit to coming back on. We'll start keeping y'all more up to date. Chris, if we want to get together and get more of a secure schedule for the truckers to be aware, maybe we'll come on once a month if y'all do this weekly. Maybe we'll come on a couple different times, depending on what your schedule is. But we definitely want to get y'all more involved, more routinely involved, right? Because it's like you said, Ignacio, out of sight, out of mind. If you don't know what's going on and it's not being talked about, you may forget it's around. So what maybe we also could do, and I know that we will have soon, is we will also be having a Shepherd's Watch app. And I will speak to our team, and maybe we'll have a special area just for truckers so that you can come there. You can make those reports if you see something that doesn't require law enforcement, and we can check into that. Chris can tell you as well. We also take consultants. So one of the ways that people get involved with Shepherd's Watch as well is if you know someone like myself, we will often call on an industry, someone who is within an industry that knows something. As an example, and it wasn't Chris, so I'm not putting Chris out to dry. But it just made me think about this, and I want to share. So, we do not claim to be experts. Okay. We do not claim to be experts at all. We work sex trafficking. We don't know what it's like to be a trucker. We don't know what it's like to be a real estate agent. However, hypothetically, if we see a truck or a trucking company that is involved in a situation and we're trying to figure out, okay, that we know they're using this truck, we know they're trafficking. We got to figure out, because we know that they're using this truck, but how are they using this truck and yada, yada, right? We don't know about payloads. We don't know all the things. So we will call on a consultant in that industry and say, hey, okay. And of course, these are consultants that have NDAs. It's not just anybody, but they'll sign an NDA. We'll say, do you want to help us with a case? Absolutely. Okay, cool. Sign the NDA. All right. You're a professional in this industry. Here's what we're looking at, and here's a truck involved. What do we got here? Well, that's where, as a truck driver, you can help us because you know what you know in the industry, and we don't. So then we lay out in front of you what we see, and we say, what does this look like? Oh, well, here's what they're doing. Oh, I see what they're doing over here, and you're going to see it, and we don't, because you know how that paperwork has to look to be legit. So that's just an example, as well as we take in people that are in the many industries, every industry actually, as consultants to help us do work. So getting involved with Shepherd's Watch on our website is very crucial. There's a contact form. If you are someone that wants to get involved on more than just seeing something in the outside realm, and you want to, maybe you're a graphics designer. Maybe you're good with organizing people. Maybe you're good with connecting people. Maybe you're a family member is the pastor of a church who holds 200 people that would be willing to give us their space for 2 hours to do a Protect the Children town hall. There's so many ways you can get involved. Reach out to us on our contact form on the website. See what you can do in your area. Tell us where you're at. Tell us what state you're in. Tell us what industry you're in. Maybe you're not a truck driver. Maybe you're listening to this and you are a truck driver, but your wife wants to get involved. Maybe she does something else for her profession. Anybody can get involved. We look for somewhere for anybody who wants to get involved. So definitely reach out to us on our website, and we are there. Also, 2 different ways you can find us during the week. Tuesday night, if you're on X, you can go to, the handle is TruthFighter33. That's TruthFighter33. That is my personal profile. We do a Protect the Children space every Tuesday night from 7 to 9 Central on that profile. And then on Thursday morning, we use the Shepherd's Watch profile which you can just search SWF for Shepherd's Watch Foundation, and it'll pull right up. And you can come in on Thursday morning on the Shepherd's Watch profile. We host the Circle of Protection Space, and that's from 9 to 11 Central. So there's a couple of ways that y'all can also get involved and start getting educated every single week. And we talk about what's going on, how to protect your communities, how to protect the kids, what's going on in the industry. We also are associated with Guard Against Trafficking, who is Allie Hopper and Jared Sadolski. And we also have taken on a new partner, which is Affirming Reality, who is Gabrielle Clark. So we will also bring in special guests that we know do the work. We absolutely do not platform anyone that we have not vetted. So join us on the weekdays and get involved. We'd love to have y'all.
Yeah,
So
her
much,
spaces are
Brandy.
really good, very informative, and very knowledgeable, um, organized, and they do have a lot of connections
Yeah,
with other organizations.
yes, we are very grateful for Elon Musk and his quick connections that those spaces bring. So we just want him to take down the child porn, and we'll be in a lot better situation.
Right. You can also find Shepherd's Watch over on American Transportation Co-op Facebook group. She is an affiliate. Shepherd's Watch is an affiliate of American Transportation Co-op. They are in our Facebook group as well. So, Brandy, you need to get some posts up in there.
All right. Well, I just made sure Shepherd's Watch is in there. I just accepted the invite. So we will start posting in there for sure. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thank y'all so much for having us on tonight. It's so very important for everyone to get involved. So I just want to thank you both for allowing us to come on and share time with y'all tonight.
Yeah, no problem. And we'll set something up every single month. Just start talking about this more.
That'll work. I'm game.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brandy, for all you do. May God bless you and your team. Thank you for bringing awareness even to myself just to reconnect with what's happening in our community. So we really appreciate you. We will continue to talk about it because if we don't talk about it, it seems like we forget about it. It's very important to every single individual, to every family, to every community. So thank you for what you do and thank you for your information today.
Well, you are very welcome. And there is something I did forget to mention. So we haven't had this before. We've just been rolling it out. So on our website, we have an area that we are starting to advertise for monthly donors. So if anyone has a business and they would like to be a corporate sponsor, a corporate partner with Shepherd's Watch, definitely send us a contact form off the website. Let's talk about it. There's certain levels that as long as you're making a monthly donation, you can be put on our website, and we can try to get y'all some business as well.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
That sounds good. Brandy, just stay in for a little bit after I end this, and that way the recording uploads on your account.
Okay.
And you'll be able to post it up yourself as well.
That'll work.
You'll be able to download it.
Okay.
I appreciate everybody coming in. Hope you enjoyed the show. Anybody that's watching the recording, thanks for watching. And we're on every single Saturday night. We will have Brandy and Shepherd's Watch on again. We're going to be setting up something once a month to be talking about this. So stay tuned and stay aware. It's very important that all of us do our part to put the end to human trafficking. It's very important. Have a good night, everyone. You want to close us out, Ignacio?
Yeah, I'm going to say a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, you know our challenges. We still believe you're sovereign God, Father. You gave us the armor of God, so we can uh, have discernment of the enemy. The enemy comes and robs, kill, and destroy. Father, we're asking for you to provide everything we need as we continue to advance your kingdom, Father. We also are asking for a hedge of protection because this is a challenging area. This is spiritual warfare to the highest level. Today, we give you the praise and the glory for what you've done with positive results, Father, and for the families that is going through these challenges. We pray that you bring comfort, that you bring healing, that you bring closure, Father, because such a fragile issue to talk about. So today, Father, we give you the praise and the glory. We give you thank you for having Brandy and her team coming out here and being soldiers in the spiritual warfare. So thank you for this platform. Thank you for everyone that's watching. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Brandy, did you have something else? I just seen your message.
Amen. No, I already said it. Thank you, though.
Oh, all right. All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.